So welcome everybody. This is the virtual open day for Moving Image and Digital Arts programme. And I am Susi Wilkinson. I am the programme director. So my role is to manage the courses at undergraduate and postgraduate level. The courses that we have in the programme are BA Animation, BA Computer Animation and Visual Effects, BA Immersive Media and Mixed Reality, BA Games Art, and BA Games Design. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the school and the programme to start with, and then in a few minutes, I will talk about each of those courses individually. Just a little bit of housekeeping, just to let you know that the event will be recorded and it's going to be shared with you after the event. And when I'm speaking, your microphones are muted to assist with the broadcast quality, but you can post questions using the question function. So there'll be time for me to answer these questions at the end of the presentation. And those questions are always really important because often what you're thinking, someone else is thinking at the same time. So please do feel free to ask those questions. There are other members of LCC staff in the session to support you, and they will step in if needed. Okay, so I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to start with a short film that will help to contextualize who we are.
You have something to say. You know it, we know it. But how can you show it? Creativity can be challenging. Maybe you'll do something unexpected. Dream up an idea, then flip it on its head. Maybe you'll look a little deeper. Imagine new futures, tell new stories, make people feel things. Maybe you just don't know how to show it. And you try one way, then another way, and keep trying and failing until you find the right way. Your way. Because whatever you have to say, however big or small it might feel, you owe it to yourself to say it. Take your idea, make it a reality, and then set it free. Creativity can be challenging, sure. But guess what? You're up for the challenge. So, what are you going to say?
So I love that film because it's our students and our facilities. Apart from the Elephant Park, I can't claim that. So London College of Communication is home to future-facing creatives who explore and rethink what communication is and why it matters. We learn, research, teach and create across design, media and screen schools. And these courses are all based in the Screen School. We support our students to explore the power of storytelling, develop a career they love, and make a difference across wider society. So that's really, really important to us, that there's context and meaning within the work that you are trained to make. So we really do explore the key issues of our time and help you to really express meaningful narratives through your work. LCC is one of 6 colleges that forms the University of the Arts London, and we are ranked 2nd in the world for art and design by the QS Awards, or the QS World University Rankings for art and design. So this is really exciting for us to be ranked so highly. And students at the University of the Arts London formed more startups than any other university. So that really gives you an insight into how important vocation is through the work that you are doing. We've been named top 5 greenest university and the highest ranked London university in the Green League. And then we've moved from 45th, there's a few statistics here, but 45th to 15th. The highest placement ever in Guardian rankings. And this is the one that I feel most proud about. We're #1 ranking for games and animation in the Guardian Good Universities Guide. And games and animation is what we do. So this is amazing, really exciting stuff for us. So you're part of the Screen School. So the Screen School has three programs. It's got sound and music, film and television, and moving image and digital arts, which is what the program that I lead on and where these courses reside. So we encourage collaboration across the different disciplines to mirror the real world creative environment. And through the use of sight and sound, our students are creating lived experiences for their audiences. Courses include film and television, animation, sound arts, games design, visual effects, virtual reality, and sound. And sound subjects aren't taught in isolation. So within a diverse creative community, you're enabled to bridge the gap between aspiration and success within the creative industries. So I'm going to show another film now. This is a film specifically about the Screen School, the Screen School courses.
London College of Communication is located at Elephant and Castle, which is right in the centre of London. We've been teaching film and television here for nearly London College of Communication Television here for nearly 40 years, and we're constantly bringing in new courses as the industry changes. We have courses in film and television, sound arts and screenwriting, but we also have courses in animation, virtual reality and games design. We create narratives and interactive experiences for our audiences. We know the industry is not as diverse as our student body, so it's a social justice issue for us to train our students to become the new faces of industry and to carry their voices forward.
We're a film school, a screen school, a university that have got things to say about how the industry can be even better than it is. So we're also looking into the future and saying, this is fantastic, but there's a lot that we can improve. We ask big questions about film culture and film heritage. We emerge from that with relevant contributions to developing a global culture.
It's really important to me to live and study in a place that has so many different people and cultures.
We're launching our new master's program in alternative reality and virtual reality. Those are newish technologies that are helping us rethink what an engagement with a range of human experience might be.
One of the really exciting things about coming to study at the London College of Communication is that everybody is studying a creative discipline of some sort, and they all interconnect.
We offer the opportunity for our students to collaborate across courses. This means students from VR get to work with a student studying sound design, get to work with students in animation. This is a really important opportunity for our students to understand a real-world creative environment. Students are fully prepared to go out into the industry and be the creative voices of the future.
Looking back, I really value the luxury of collaboration, the joy of working with people.
The college has incredible facilities, from workshops and technical suites through to the Stanley Kubrick archive that contains everything from his shooting scripts to his advertising campaigns.
I think I'm going to leave LCT with a much more developed practice, a lot more confidence in the work that I'm making and the direction I'm going, a broader network, and just more experience in presenting my work as well in a variety of different contexts.
Having people who understand games design and music production and even things like screen printing around you really helps.
We have many alumni that we're extremely proud of. They've won Oscars, they've won BAFTAs. Their films have screened at Cannes and Sundance and festivals all over the world. It's really important for us to continue to understand and celebrate our history and take it with us into the future.
So that is the Dean of the Screen School, Susi Wilkinson. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the programme now, Moving Image and Digital Arts programme. So we're one of 3 programmes. We work alongside the Sound and Music programme, the Film and Television programme. And collaboration with those students across the programmes is really, really key and really important to your learning experience. You can find each other through taught units and through extracurricular projects. We have courses in 2D and 3D animation, games art, games design, visual effects, and immersive media. We are future facing. So there you go. You've got someone wearing a VR headset. We're future facing. We have industry standard technical facilities. So we've got VR labs, creative technology labs, motion capture studios. We have a render farm, which might not sound exciting, but when you can render in a minute what used to take us a day to render, it's absolutely thrilling. And these are great resources for our students. We have a digital space that's open weekdays until 8:30 p.m. and we've got over 300, and this figure actually blows my mind. We've got over 300 high-spec computers within our program alone. So that just goes to show exactly how advanced we are technologically. The courses are developed and delivered in response to industry movements. So, for example, we started out BA Immersive Media and Mixed Reality as BA VR. So it was BA Virtual Reality. However, we've developed that course in response to developing emerging technologies in industry. So it's now embracing a much wider form of immersive technology. We're leading research and development projects in VR, games development, computer animation, and visual effects, and so on. So I'm just seeing that some more people have joined, so welcome. We're partway through the talk about the school and about the program, and we're coming to a talk about the courses. But just to say, this is being recorded and it will be sent to you after the presentation. So you'll be able to catch up on anything that you missed. And if you do have any questions, please use the Ask Question function and I will be able to answer those at the end of the presentation. We are global, so collaboration is central, and having team members from a range of cultural backgrounds and home countries is of great benefit, as our students can share perspectives, and we encourage our students to see a diverse course team as benefiting projects with those diverse, shared and often different perspectives. We have international projects, so we've worked with Toronto Metropolitan University Global Campus Studio. We have Study Abroad. We work with Chile University, University of Malaysia. We also have student exchanges embedded in our courses. Our staff are a great asset. They have incredible expertise amongst them. We have academic staff from a range of creative and vocational backgrounds with a vast range of expertise between them. We have over 60 associate lecturers, so they are part-time staff who are otherwise working in industry or research. And our specialist technologists, our specialist technicians who support the MIDA program have industry backgrounds and expertise as well. So our staff have worked in industry or are still working in industry whilst they're teaching our students. So that cross-pollination of how we work with industry and how we teach our students to work with industry is really, really important to us. We are makers first and foremost. So you are going to learn through doing. So theoretical practice is really important and underpins the work that you do. However, you will be combining theory and practice in all of your projects, and that's really, really key to your learning. We have amazing industry links. So we've had internships with Framestore, Disney, Passion Pictures, Blink Inc. and more. We have students working on industry projects. Here's some examples. So these are just some of the industry contexts that we've worked with, where industry might set a brief and then they will come in and work with our students partway through the brief and come to the end and give feedback on which projects will go into production in the public domain. So this is really thinking about how you will build not only a skill set, but also a portfolio and a CV that will help prepare you for the world of work. So when you graduate, although when you go into industry, you will say, I'm a recent graduate, you will also have industry experience on your show reel and in your portfolio and in your CV. So this is really exciting for our students. It's exciting for our staff as well to be able to teach you and give you the opportunity to apply those skills in a professional context. Collaboration is absolutely key and critical to the work that you do. And often we do find students struggle to start with collaboration, but it is a key industry skill. And it's one of the key skills that industry always feed back to us that they seek in a graduate, that you are able to work in a team. And that would be maybe taking a role, working in equal partnership or leading. So roles can be different from one discipline and one project to another. So it's really not just about being able to collaborate, but also understanding how to put together a team. So we do this through your project work, and we also offer extracurricular opportunities. We have amazing spaces and facilities. So we've got, as I was saying earlier, we have 3D workshops, creative technology lab, print workshops. We have a library and learning zone. And also, when you're a student at LCC, you are a student at UAL, which means that you can then use your card to go to other campuses such as Central St Martin's, Chelsea, London College of Fashion, Wimbledon, Camberwell. So this gives you the opportunity to go and meet students from a really broad range of disciplines, all within the creative arts. So just going to repeat what I said earlier. Some people have joined us, so welcome. I'm Susi Wilkinson. I'm the program director. I'm partway through the presentation. I'm just coming to the courses. If you've just joined us, then the session is being recorded, and we will share the link to the recording with you afterwards, so you can go back and watch anything that you've missed. And if you do have any questions for me, please pop them in the ask a question area, and I will endeavour to answer them as best I can. So we're moving to a new building. So anybody joining from next September onwards, it is highly possible, I'm going to say, that you could, partway through your course, or for all of your course, depending when you're applying for, you could be moving into a new building at some point. So currently, we expect to move into the new building in 2026. But I'm sort of saying that tentatively, because actually we've been expecting to move for quite a while, but then things like the pandemic happened. So this is our proposal. We will be moving in 2026. They've already started building, so if you do come and visit us, you will see the towers are up. So yeah, fingers crossed. And this is a architect's visualization of our new space. I hope it does look like that. It looks amazing. Student, alumni and successes. So we have students working everywhere. Really exciting. We're building a huge network of alumni. We have also awards. So we've won Rookies. If you know the Rookies, this is really prestigious. We've got the TIGA awards that we've won, Best Education Initiative for Games Design. We've had Aesthetica Film Festival winners, New York Animation Film Awards. So this list is not exhaustive. Our graduates are everywhere winning awards, and it's really, really exciting. And if you come to us, then you'll be part of that network. So also, as part of the course, you can optionally choose to take an additional diploma in professional studies. So this is a one-year course that sits between years 2 and 3 and gives you an extra diploma and gives you the opportunity with our support, to go into industry and to do an internship or to set a startup and company up, and to gain extra experience and develop your portfolio for an extra year. You also have the opportunity, alternatively, I don't think you could do both. I've never been asked that, but I think one or the other, you could do a Creative Computing Institute diploma, same structure, so between years 2 and 3. We have exchanges that we're building into our courses with Hong Kong Baptist University, with Amsterdam University, with La Salle Barcelona, to name a few. So this is an option to go and study for a block of your time in year 2 in another country with accredited units. So you would learn as a student in one of their courses. And we do umpteen field trips. So we go to festivals. We really make the most of being in London, which is fantastic. We have loads of trips just to local galleries, museums, exhibitions, and also industry are very welcoming to us to go and do industry tours. So I'm going to move on to talking about the courses. I'm going to go do them in alphabetical order, starting with BA Animation. So this course is one of our first courses that we had within this school, and has been in some form or other with us since 2005. The course leader is Stuart Hilton, and the course is changing. It's grown quite a lot. So we have a lot of applicants to this course. And I'm going to explain a little bit more about the pathway model. But we started out with just BA Animation, doing 2D, stop motion, and a little bit of 3D. And what we then went on to do was develop this into a pathway model with a 3D pathway, a visual effects pathway, a games art pathway, and then an animation arts pathway. And this was really successful. So we are now, I'm going to show you in the next slides, the courses that we've developed from those pathways. So if you want to apply to BA Animation, it is now a 2-pathway course. You will either join the character pathway or the experimental pathway. And in the first year, you will study all together, all doing the same projects. You will experiment, you will do character, you will do some stop motion, you will do some theoretical work, and you will work hard to equip yourself with the skills to then be able to make an informed decision about which pathway you'd like to join. And the character pathway is very much focused on 2D digital, but within that you might do stop motion. We teach Toon Boom, TV Paint, After Effects. You will have the opportunity to do a little bit of 3D, but the focus is very much on 2D within this pathway. We are a Toon Boom Centre of Excellence. That means that we have an accredited member of staff teaching Toon Boom, and it means that students get lots of benefits, including network when they graduate, and free software, free Toon Boom software. The experimental pathway is it's experimental. It's the place where you might choose, if you were interested in doing, still you could do 2D, you could do character, but you might be thinking, I'd like to see how it works applied in documentary or projection mapping, or I'd like to experiment with animation and VR. So it's the place where you might focus more on the experimentation of ideas and format over the 2D narrative. So that's the difference between those two pathways. So we have a course, BA Computer Animation and Visual Effects, which has grown out of the original BA Animation course. And this is in its first year of running. And we're really excited about this course. So we've combined those two pathways, and you just study on one course now. And it started in September this year. It's been hugely successful. We were able to develop our resources. So there's a base room with really high-end PC computers. Students are able to work in 3D and learn the workflow of 3D, but they're also able to learn the workflow of visual effects. And then rather than choosing a specific pathway, you would choose a specialist approach. So everybody's working together, but you might work more towards visual effects or more towards 3D. So the software that we use and teach would be something like Nuke for visual effects, Maya for 3D, and also we use Unreal Engine, and we are also a Nuke Centre of Excellence. So students will be doing all aspects of 3D, animation, visual effects, concepting, storytelling. You'll be focused on industry outcomes, and you might also work in games, commercials, and an episodic work. So it's really about developing a creative voice and learning how to collaborate in what is a highly collaborative field. So BA Immersive Media and Mixed Reality is, again, it's a slightly new course for us. We've had our first graduating year from BA Virtual Reality, and then we've changed the course so it's a bit broader, and now it encompasses all aspects of immersive media and mixed reality. So the course leader is David McClellan, and these are examples of student work. So top right is a student project, a VR project. But what you would be looking at in immersive media and mixed reality, you might be doing work in virtual reality, but you might also be thinking in augmented reality. You might look at games, 360 filmmaking, and then there you see the overlap. Character design can be key, animation can also be key. So students will learn Maya, they'll learn Unity and Unreal Engine as game engines to bring the work into the immersive space. So games art, the course leader for BA Games Art is Luca Rossino. And this is, and I've just realized I said these are in alphabetical order and they're actually not, because we've gone from I to G. I do apologize. So games art is a pathway, again, that has come out of BA animation. And again, due to the success of this pathway in the animation course, we've made it into its own course. So games art is a new course. It's into its second year now. And we have 2 cohorts in games art, which might be good to know. So it is a popular subject area. And students experiment across games art mediums and processes such as concept art, modeling, rigging, animation, special effects, and game production. Students will create narratively rich and culturally significant games art, exploring their role as a creative mind and finding their voice as artists and disruptors of the status quo within games, which is quite exciting because games are booming and can be such a creative expression. So students might be studying character, environment, 2D, 3D, create creature, animation, games, VFX, and concept art. And you can really see as we go through these courses that overlap between the courses. And then I would say for games art, the emphasis is very much on the aesthetics. So it is the visuals, the environments of games and building up these story worlds. We then have games design, and games design is much more about the mechanics of games. So the course leader is Roy Casely, Tom Kaczmarek is the first year leader, and this course experiments across digital media. It creates ideas and prototypes into playable games. So it's really a course that looks at the concept, the psychology of games. It teaches coding. And these two courses collaborate really well together. So you have students who are creating the aesthetics and students who are creating the gameplay. Together, those courses collaborate really, really well. And we have this as our last slide. This really is to show the difference between games design and games art. It's really, really important that that you understand which course you're applying to. So if you are interested in games, please read what's written on the website. If you are interested in programming, prototyping, technical aspects of game design, you must apply to games design. And if you are interested in animation, concept art, modeling, world building, then, and you think of yourself as a visual person, it's likely that games art is for you. So we've got a short film from some graduates from our courses that will just give you a little bit of a sense of the student voice.
I'm Pav, and I'm a 3D generalist. The name of the animation is called Trials of the North Pole. So it's about Santa, and he's crashed on an island in the middle of the North Pole. Similar to God of War or Red Dead Redemption, like where you play a story mode and you're trying to just control the character, enter into many cinematics of the game. Yeah, and it just follows through a whole game sequence and following Santa through this journey to get those presents back to America. So they go through some evil reindeer, they go through a massive snowman, talking novels. It's a fantasy epic game, mostly to do with using Maya and like the softwares and that we were learning from our tutor. And then we thought like we can explore other softwares, and we went into Unreal Engine 4 and we really like enjoyed. Most of the 3D people were like, let's do films and stuff. We want to be a bit more experimental. We like make it more about the cinematics as well, because that's what our path is. I was like the director and I gathered 3 people to like join up. They all were really good. I told them what they needed to do and what they needed to get done. So my tutor did like a game on Christmas, right? And I was like, I really wanted to create a Christmas game. I like battle games as well. So I thought we'll just try and combine both of them together. And I thought it was really amazing to just think like looking at concepts online and just think about all these other different ideas and just implement them. Because it's a fantasy game, I think anyone can create something extraordinary if you just keep thinking about different things about life and just add them into it. Just lots of mixtures and be fun and creative. I think I've got better industry skills. I have a better understanding on what animation is and how to animate films and create a sequence, create a film, work with people as well, because it was just really good collaborating with everyone and working in a team.
Hello, I'm Sebastian White, and I'm a games design and developer. So my game is Between the Devil and the Deep Blue. It's a shoot to move type game. I tried to keep it into like a pirate sort of theme. Went through a lot of iterations to get where it finally was, and overall pretty pleased with the overall outcome. Originally, the first game I made was completely different to what it is now. It was more about sailing along the sea and more like a racing type game. I tried a whole bunch of different things with different mechanics, but it made it more complicated. Then I realized just what's fun is the best route to do. So that's why I stuck with the shoot to move, because that being fun on its own, I knew that anything that I built on top of that would just work rather than just trying to completely change the genre each time. The main takeaway from my game really should be that it's fun and that it's addictive to play, because obviously I want customers to keep coming back and my player base to keep growing. But I've always liked art and graphic design, so I tried to find something in between those two things. with also the use of my programming skill that I'd gained. Once I came for an open day here, I felt like it was the obvious thing to do because it encompasses music, graphic design, programming, and the art, which I really loved. The biggest thing I've gained in the third year is just my confidence with what I'm doing. Like, I'm sure now this is the career that I want to go into. I feel like almost everything that they've taught me in the course, I've used at one point or another. I'm able to come up with creative ideas that might be a bit different or out the box. Even if the content isn't that amazing, I feel like I can offer something original enough to spice it up and make it my own and unique. They recommended at the start of the course that board games were a really good basis to build on because essentially a board game is a really simplified computer game. I feel like overall the course has offered me more than enough to make something really good and something I could be proud of really overall.
Name's Adam Shivani. Course I study is BA Animation. And my project Pyramids, it's an exploration about humanity using music and philosophy, in this case, beatbox. At the time, I was reading the Quran, which is the holy book of Muslims, and I was getting really into it. And that inspired me to create something around a religious theme. So I decided I need to make it somewhat lightweight, and that was the resulting style, which combined geometric shapes and in a simple cartoon-esque format. The human voice is something that defines us all, which is why all sound in the production of the animation is made just by MB14's voice. It's looking at how the past is an answer to our questions that we have now. Even though the film itself is in 2D, there is a slight bit of 3D. My animation is about contrast, future, past, purpose of life, etc. About 4 years ago, I started a BTech animation course. It was games design as well. And that fueled a lot of my interest into animation as well. But I think the craft itself is just kind of beautiful. It's creating life from nothing. What I've taken away from the university, I think experimentation is a really important one. To me, it's, I like to go away from the straight path and kind of make my own path, detour. Because the Hebrew word for abracadabra is to create. And, that is what I'm doing. I'm a magician. I'm creating life, movement, the illusion of reality.
Let's start again. We're so proud of our students and our graduates. I love to see the successes, and to see their faces again. It's great. These are our graduates. So articulate and passionate and talented. So that's the end of the presentation. Here are some contacts for you if you have any questions about admissions, accommodation, student support, scholarships and fees, and general inquiries. And now, do you have any questions?
Hello, Susie. Thank you so much for that incredibly informative presentation. Very interesting and covered a lot of bases there. So thank you very much. I think you might have noticed, so there was a little bit of a difficulty with the joining link. So a couple of people joined late. Just to reiterate what Susie said, if you did join late, not to worry, this entire session has been recorded and will be sent out to every single person that has attended, so you won't miss anything at all. And if you have any questions, please do pop them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen so that we can go through those now with Susie. We do have a couple already in, so I'm just going to fire away if that's all good with you. Starting with a question from one student asking, is traditional 2D animation taught in the BA animation course?
Interesting question. So traditional 2D, can be considered in different ways. So we do have light boxes, and we do have punched paper, and we do have rostrum cameras with peg bars so that you can shoot your traditional animation. But we do also encourage students to learn on digital format. So we have Wacom screens that you can do your animation directly onto a screen. So we teach the principles of animation, and you learn animation skills. This is really, really important to the basis of your direction of how you would like to develop your skills. So the short answer is yes. And then actually some people take it a long way. They really run with the whole traditional working on paper approach. So hopefully that answers your question.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. And kind of off the back of that, another question about BA animation. Is life drawing, perspective drawing skills like that taught and practiced as part of that course?
Yeah, even in the pandemic, we managed to keep life drawing afloat, which is quite challenging. So less talked about the pandemic, the better, but we did have online life drawing classes. So yeah, we have life drawing classes once a week, and yeah, it's great. It's so critical to understanding human form, movement, perspective, as you say. It's really, really important, and students love it. We also have, as part of the student union, you can sign up with a small fee, which is really, really not very much. I can't remember how much it is, but you can Google UAL Student Union life drawing and you'll find it. You can attend, I think, up to 5 life drawing classes a week through the Students' Union. So we do provide it in course, but if that's not enough for you, you can get some more through the Students' Union.
Fabulous, thank you. I'm just going to find the link to that and post it in the chat. Another question, does the character path for the animation course include other design art aspects in an animated film production other than animation, such as storyboards, character design, visual development?
Yes, all of the above. Absolutely. So you'll start storyboarding in year 1, regardless of pathway, and then it elevates each year. So just to keep your skills in and keep you receiving feedback. So yeah, storyboarding, character design, visual narrative, all of those underpinning skills are really, really important to the character pathway.
Fabulous, thank you very much. What are the pathways for animation after graduation? What are the common pathways?
It's a big question.
It is.
I think the question is where can you end up working? And I have spoken to people who've studied animation and ended up in games. I've spoken to people who studied animation and ended up in illustration, but you can also end up in animation. There's loads of different routes into industry. So you might end up doing some more commercial work or getting funding for short films. We have a really booming animation industry in the UK and in London, but also all across the UK. But internationally, oddly, I feel 2D animation is still so popular. There is so much work in 3D, and we do have the 3D course now, but the more popular 3D becomes, the more popular 2D seems to become as well. So it is, and I'm not going to say it's easy. It's always going to be hard work because it's animation. You're not signing up for the easy ride. It takes a long time. That's the big news. It's like really takes a long time, and it takes a lot of focus and discipline and perseverance. But the industry is very much open to those who are in for the long haul, I would say.
That's great. You kind of just answered the next question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just to serve as reassurance for whoever it was who asked it. How easy is it to find a job after graduating from a degree in animation, and is this something that should concern me?
It's always challenging. I will always say that the students who do the diploma in professional studies find that the finding an internship, I think, can be easier. And once you've done a 1 year's internship, it can then be easier to get into the industry. Having said that, you are part of a network as soon as you become a student here. So what we found is that through the collaborative process, if one student gets work, let's say they get commissioned, they'll start to then use their peers to work in teams. And so you can start to really build your network from the day you sign up to be an animation student. So I think I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, because you know, you never know what's around the corner. We've had so many shakes to the industry, but it is, you know, and it does depend as well on which country you're from as well. So there's loads of different animation industries that coincide, and some of them sit separately from each other. But it as long as you're prepared to work at it, then you will be able to get work in it.
Brilliant, thank you.
That sounded scripted. That just came out perfect.
It was a good answer though. Next question is, in which course do we get to study concept art design?
That's a really good question. I would say games art is very much a course where you will study concept art and design. And if that specifically interests you, I would definitely give them a look. The difference between games art when it was a pathway and games art as a standalone course, I would say one of the most significant differences, one is, I'm going to give you two differences, having said I'll give you one. Two differences. One is that you start games art from day one, whereas when it was part of BA animation, you were all doing everything for a year. The other significant difference is that you don't necessarily have to do animation, whereas in an animation course you did. So this is one of the exciting things, two of the exciting, keep saying one, it's two of the exciting things for us when we became, made it as a separate course. So concept art and design, I think, very much is embedded in the DNA of that course. However, as I kept sort of alluding to in our presentation, there are so many overlaps within the disciplines. So there you would be taught specifically concept art and development, world building, character design, shaping, forming, and there are 2D and 3D approaches. In character, you would have the same. So BA animation character. So that's where you start making those decisions for you as a unique creative. You might really want to learn animation. Don't sign up to animation if you really want to do concept art and design, because it might not be right for you, because you're going to have to do animation. But the same with games art, you know, you do have to then make games art. So there are overlaps, and then it will become very much down to you and your personal choices.
That's really helpful, and that has again kind of answered the next question. There's a bit of a trend here. So Maya asked, what is the difference between the animation course and the games art course, as they both have similar sub-courses within them, which you did kind of answer. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate any further on that.
Yeah, I think in games art, you will be collaborating with games design. So when you're a games art student, you're really thinking about the world that you're inventing, the atmospheres, the assets. So often it is about assets, very much about bosses and characters, and then when you're working, and you will do some simple game engine work, so you need to make sure that your artwork really works within a game environment. There's no point in designing something that then is too heavy to be able to render, or it doesn't function within a moving space. So you will collaborate then with the game's design students, who will really bring those characters and worlds into the game environment. In animation, you would maybe be a little bit more focused on, and it's not all about short films and storytelling at all, but that might be the space that you go to if that's what you're interested in. So animation might look at maybe a broader perspective on the industry. So you could be doing projection mapping, you could be doing stop motion, you could be doing short storytelling, you might do, did I say documentary? You know, there's lots of different outcomes, lots of overlap with the courses, but I think when you get down to the detail, then you would find they're quite distinctly different. And actually, just to say that we do really work hard to create synergies between our courses, so they're not all kind of really siloed into different ways of doing everything. Because the staff teams work really closely together, then the students can work closely together as well. So that really helps us to help you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That's really, really helpful. Another question kind of again on differences, I guess, or is there a course which focuses equally on both 2D and 3D animation?
No. I think that's the short answer. No, because even if you were doing BA animation in its old version with the pathways, you would still be asked to specialize. I think if you really, really want to do 3D, it's going to be very hard for you to not focus on that full time. If you want to have an understanding of 3D and play around with it, I think that lots of people, they might use 3D as a tool to build spaces. They might use, world building. I keep saying that, but it's really, really key to what we do across all of our courses. So if it's in that context that you're asking the question, then I would say probably BA animation would be the space for you, because 3D, we've got much lower barriers to entry with software like Cinema 4D that you can use quite quickly, and you can use for that purpose in a much more maybe boutique style. So you're not thinking about a big team and learning a specific skill in a pipeline. You want to work a little bit independently, develop your own worlds, combine 2D and 3D. I would say in that case, yes, BA animation could be the space for you. But I would say probably not vice versa. I don't think you would feel in computer animation and visual effects that your 2D needs are being answered.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Can I just add to that?
Absolutely.
I'm just going to add to that. The question was 2D and 3D equally. Was it animation?
Yes.
Interesting. So, who was the question from? Sorry.
The question was from, let me just track it back down. It was an anonymous attendee.
Anonymous attendee. Just one last thought for you. Games art do teach 2D and 3D equally, but they do not necessarily teach animation.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. So what would the best option be if a student wanted to study concept art, but not specifically for games, rather for movies?
For movies, animated movies?
I'm imagining so, yes.
Yeah, in that case, I think it's a
both.
really,
there we are. Person has just said both.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think if you're specifically looking at concept art that you would be happy on animation, because I've had this conversation with people, and it's, animation is really at the heart of the animation course, as you would expect. And I'm trying to think in the film and television program, we're very much production based. So the role of a concept artist might be something you could take on within a project, but the core learning outcomes of many of our units in the animation course, let's say, or the film and television course, would be expecting you to engage in the broader aspects of production. So yeah, I mean, we have talked about it actually. Would this be a course that we should run? Not yet.
Oh, that's really interesting. They've kind of caught an area.
I mean, it's really important just to, these are really, really good questions, and it's really important to get the right course. And if none of them are right, then, that's really sad, but it's really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, kind of just to feed off the back of that, we do have a student panel happening as well online in a couple of days. And one of the main topics that the students discuss is how they went about choosing the right course for them. So that might be something that's interesting for anyone who is still wondering how to choose their course.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got a few more questions. They're coming in, which is good. Would animation students at some point in the course produce a scripted short film as a group with all stages of the production within the professional industry environment? Very specific.
Yes. I mean, yes, sorry, I'm reading the question because it feels like that I want to get it right. Yeah, absolutely. So in the animation course, we have in year 2, there's a unit called professional practices, in which you would do a project aligned to industry. And then in year 3, that builds on that unit, we have a professional futures unit that takes all of your learning across the course and helps you to put together your CV, your online presence. But as part of that, has been for years, I can't guarantee it will always exist, but we've been doing this for years, is a collaboration with the MA screenwriting students. And so our animation students work with the screenwriting students to develop a project. Now, it might be like the production, the kind of press kit. So it might not be a finished production, but the outcome of that is then seen by producers from all around the world. So you might produce a proof of concept, storyboards, script, and the proof of concept is just maybe a scene that's been animated that really proves that this style works, that the characters work, and so on. So it's a really important part of that student journey. You also do, in second year, you'll have your exploratory practice project. So that's a much more individual piece of work where you get to experiment and play and maybe, really explore your own personal style. And then in year 3, you'll do a final major project, which is a team project. And the final outcome, it can go to festivals. We have our undergraduate showcase. So there's lots of outlets for your work. So navigating through that, I think the answer to your question is yes, depending on your choices, actually.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Very interesting answer. So thank you very much, Susie. Could you please give some information about the portfolio we need to submit before being accepted onto the animation course?
Yeah, so I just got to say that all of the information is online. So definitely do your research, look online, because we've been as precise as we can be in the criteria that we look for in what's written online. So I'm going to also say, just emphasize that we do look for your passion and enthusiasm. We are really keen to see experimentation. We don't want to just see the end product. We like to see process. So if you've got a stunning image that you've created, we would just love to see the research behind that, or the ways in which you've developed that. You don't have many images in your portfolio to sell yourself. So I think it is a really, really good question. But those are the keys I would take away, is that, don't give us any derivative work. And I've been doing this for long enough to know that this kind of can upset some people. We really want the originality. Please avoid putting any manga or anime style images. And the reason I say that is because we absolutely appreciate your love of manga and anime. However, you're going to spend the next 3 years on the course being taught how to bring out the originality. And when you get to industry, the reason for that is industry aren't interested. They want to see that you can adapt your style, that you can work as a team, and that, yeah, we can all appreciate what we appreciate. Anyway, and maybe I'm speaking to the converted, but just to say, those are my tips. Experimentation, show us your process, try to be original. Yeah. Did I cover everything, John?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. And also just to add on to the end of that as well, it's been posted just into the webinar, the chat, but we are also doing a portfolio advice session on the 24th of November at 4 p.m. So just this Friday. So if you also wanted to come along and attend a session specifically about how to develop your portfolio, that is an option for you. Okay. So yeah, please do sign up for that if you would be interested. A few more questions, they're coming in, which is very nice. So we've got some more time. As someone who would like to go down the route of games art, do we do any coding? And if so, do we need to have any previous knowledge about it?
So you don't need to have any previous knowledge. You will do some very basic coding, but it's what I was describing. So it's really to understand how your assets, characters, your environments work in a game engine. That's really what we're going to teach you. So we leave the coding to the game design students. But having an understanding of the principles and being able to do some basic coding, I think is going to really, really help you. So yeah, we do teach some basic, but you don't need to have any previous knowledge.
Fabulous, thank you. Would you recommend or encourage studying a foundation year before going into the animation course or any of the courses?
Yeah, it's a nice question. You know, we always used to say, yes, of course, you must. But there aren't that many foundation courses left. It used to be a lot easier. So it's for you personally, it will benefit you. Generally, I say people who come to us having done a kind of preparation course of any kind, it doesn't have to be a foundation, they tend to come in better equipped and better prepared. You know, it's a big step to go from studying A levels or a BTEC straight into, you know, moving out of home for a lot of people, managing budgets, managing workload, managing jobs outside of study. And that's, you know, so that year of preparation, not only creatively, but also just for yourself, is a really, really useful transition tool. Having said that, not everybody can afford it. Not everybody gets a place. So we do our best within our courses, and they've changed over the years to accommodate that. We do our best to create an environment where you do get that opportunity to experiment and play, but also building community. So you feel part of a community in the same way as, you know, you might do when you're at school or on your sixth form college. You know, it's quite possible where you're coming now is a bigger place. It's easy to get lost. You're not going to be studying 40 hours in the studio a week. So finding those opportunities to build community and to help you transition from a bigger gap from where you started, or all educational backgrounds, actually. It's not just from UK educational backgrounds. We do a lot of work to support our students in that transition.
Fabulous, thank you very much. Next question, would a personal statement for more than one subject, so specifically in this case architecture and animation, be considered the same as a usual personal statement, or would it be a disadvantage, I think is the question.
It's not a disadvantage. I would be really clear. So I would sometimes I read statements and they haven't written animation, they've written just architecture, and I'm like, oh, well, they're not obviously not that keen. So I would be really, clear that, you know, the 2 subject areas interest you, and then it makes it easier if your portfolio doesn't feel quite right for one, it makes it easier for us to give you an alternative offer if that is possible.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. And just a few more questions and then I will conclude the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for writing in so many interesting questions as well. I guess in response to COVID, this one, will all of my lectures be in person, or will teaching also take place online?
It's a really good question, actually. So we are mostly in person, but what we have found is that when we're mostly in person, people are fine and actually happy to do things online where it's appropriate. So an example might be, you don't want to travel from your, I don't know, zone 4 halls of residence to zone 1 to college for a 30-minute thesis tutorial or tutorial, full stop. So that might work much better online. Whereas you don't really want to be taught really highly complex software in a class online. Actually, we do quite a lot of asynchronous teaching for complex software, and that question hasn't come up. Self-paced learning, so that we can spend more time really applying those techniques. I've digressed. But yeah, so we try to tailor it now to the student needs. Actually, guest speakers as well. If we have a great guest speaker in the States, people would rather watch them online than not at all.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Thank you. And last question, I guess. What is the situation with the opportunity to borrow equipment or spend your own money as a student on the course?
So we have a kit room where you can book kit out. So we have a lot of kit ring fenced for our students. We are highly technical, so we have a lot of kits. So if you're a VR student, that could be a VR headset. We can hire and borrow cameras, sound recording, those kind of things. We also have a bank of iMacs, so people can borrow a MacBook, not iMacs, MacBook Airs. I'm trying to remember which one. MacBook Airs. So if you're doing, you know, essay work, or we also, actually, I didn't mention this, we have virtual access, remote access to our studio computers. So you could borrow, let's say, a MacBook Air, go home and use it to go into remotely use our software from home. Does that make sense? Yeah. We also have some PC laptops, although they have to stay on site, and the library book out laptops as well. These are short-term loans. You can't just have it for the duration of your studies, but it's I think people find it really useful. Yeah, is that the question? That's the end of the question, isn't it? So kit, what can we borrow? Yeah, kit room, and also we have some local equipment as well. Oh, and costs, that was it. So we try, and I think we do quite well at this in our program, we try and put the cost on us. Because everything is digital, not everything, but lots of things are digital, then it does make it easier for us to provide, because we have great computers, great software, great render farm and all the rest of it. The cost to you might be personal choice. So if you're doing stop motion, let's say, we also have materials budgets, and we give additional materials budget to courses that have more analog material requests. So, you know, I really would encourage students to talk to their tutors before they spend any money. The only thing we ask you to spend is £48 on Adobe software a year, which yeah, that's one thing we can't provide, but that's the student discount.
That's pretty good.
And actually, just in that, sorry, John, I know,
okay.
but I was just going to say, it is advisable, if you can, to have a computer, a laptop at home, something at home, especially if you're studying one of our subjects, because you know, the longer you can spend practicing your subject, and the more flexible you are, the better. However, if you can't do that, we do have the remote desktop access. So you can buy a cheap one, access ours. Doesn't matter how cheap your computer is, as long as you've got a good internet connection, you should be able to use our software and hardware from home.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Susie, for answering all of those questions. And thank you everyone for attending today. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to drop us an email. And if you did come in late, as I said at the beginning, this will be sent to you as a recording. So I'm going to conclude this session. Thank you so much for your expertise, Susie. Any parting words of wisdom?
Just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Amazing questions. I hope this has been useful. But please do, we've got the contacts here. If you have any more questions that we aren't able to answer, then please do contact them or myself. I'm very happy to answer questions offline. Thank you to John for hosting us.
We got a big thank you very much as well from one of our attendees. So brilliant. Take care, and hopefully we will see you at LCC soon.
Good luck, everybody.